streamed. It's my pleasure to welcome everybody here and on the screen to this meeting of Child and Family Services Scrutiny Performance Panel on the 13th of September. Particularly warm welcome to Victoria online and also to Joy, who's in the chamber here with us, who are attending the first meetings of this Scrutiny Performance Panel. And I'm sure that's what we're going to get. Good, I have no doubt. And within as well, Mark is another one who recently joined us, but you were at the meeting, the last meeting, Mark, as I recall. To officers, and certainly a welcome says in particular as well, and the cabinet member. You're online today, Louise, which is unusual, but this might be from North Wales, is it?
Yeah, I do apologise. I'm nearly at Llandudno, so there's not great signals, but so I'll probably be quite quiet.
Oh, okay. Anyways, thanks for attending and breaking into what you're doing up in North Wales, I guess. Okay, on that basis, if I may, I'll move on to item 1 on the agenda, which is apologies for absence. Liz?
Chair, we've received apologies from Councillor Kevin Griffiths, Susan Jones, Wendy Lewis, Cheryl Philpott and Erica Cush.
Fortunately, for apologies and members. Take it from there anyway. Item 2 is disclosures of interest. If anybody wants to make any such disclosure, now is a chance to do that. Can't see any hands in the chamber here. Can't see in line, so I assume not. Item 3 is prohibition of whip votes and declaration of party whips. Item 4 is the minutes of the previous meeting. Oh, sorry, Mark. My apologies.
Hiya, Paxton. It might be my end, but I can hardly hear you. I can hear the other guests, but I can't quite hear you. Is there a problem with the sound system there?
See if I can get closer to the mic or speak a bit louder. Is that any better?
That's much better. Thanks, Paxton.
Okay. I'll see if I can remember now. That'll be the next problem, but we'll take it from there. Okay, Mark. Item 4 is the minutes of the previous meetings. The members who were there will have had the copies and will have seen them. I guess we are quorate enough just to do that, I think. So if anybody's got any comments to make, having read them and the letters, then this is your opportunity to do so. If not, I'll assume that you're happy with them. Okay. In that case, no comments. We'll move on to item 5, which is public question time. As usual, I suspect we haven't got any of this.
No, we haven't received any, Chair.
Okay. So let's very quickly on the agenda through to item 6, which is the presentation by young carers. And obviously at this stage, I'm going to ask Gavin to take over, unless you want to say something first, Julie.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'm really pleased.
Cuts out.
Shall I carry on, Chair? I think cabinet members having connection problems, so I just wanted to say I'm really pleased that they're here today, Gavin, to present on behalf of young carers. It's brilliant, and when I saw the video myself, it's got some very strong and powerful messages in there. So look forward to hearing any progress made and next steps and challenges from young people. Thanks.
Before you start, can I just ask to make sure that everybody's got their microphones off, wherever they may be, please. Did you want to come in, Louise, at all?
No, apologies. I hand it to the officers. It's really not great signal, so I'll just observe. Thank you.
Okay, then it's over to you, Gavin, with your colleague. First name I'm not quite sure about. My apologies.
Okay, can everyone hear us okay? Yeah, okay, and they can see us. So there's three of us to introduce you to.
If you lower your sound.
Bear with me, a few technical issues.
Hurt yourself.
Doesn't seem to let me mute. Sorry, we're getting some feedback here. Echo, yeah. We're trying to get rid of it, sorry.
Sorry, we're having some technical details in the chamber here instead of being in the classroom.
Sure, how we're going to get rid of it.
Keep going here. And turn back. That should be fine.
How about now? It's better online. It's really weird in the room.
It's because we can hear them.
Oh, how about now? Yes, that's better. Okay, we don't have an echo in the room. Okay, apologies for that, everybody. And yeah, thank you for your patience. So I have two colleagues joining me today as well. So first of all, just to introduce myself. So my name is Gavin Evans. I'm a Principal Officer in Child and Family Services. And my role is supporting family support. But today I'm here with my hat on, which is around leading a partnership for young carers. So we're here today to talk to you a little bit about the work that we have been doing with young carers and to share a video presentation, which will hopefully go smoothly, that the young carers have done themselves that they would like us to share. So Agia, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Hi all, my name's Zakia. I work for YMCA Swansea and I coordinate the young carers program there.
And we have Helen joining us online. Helen, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Gavin. My name's Helen Howells and I'm the team manager for pupil support representing the education department. And Gavin Aguirre and I have been working closely to make sure that we've got enough presence of young carers and the information of young carers within schools. Thanks.
Thank you both. So just a little bit about my role in the work that we've been undertaking. So here in Swansea, we have a multi-agency partnership that represent all the different services that work with young carers. There's a huge range of issues that can affect them. So it is really important that we have that kind of representation. And that's a group now that's been in place for the last 3 or 4 years. In terms of the wider strategic context for the work that we do in that group, it is connected then to Swansea Carers Partnership, which looks at all types of people in caring roles. And we also sit under the Western Bay Regional Carers Partnership as well. And there are a number of strategies, both from Welsh Government and regional strategies for carers that have an impact on young carers as well. Our intention today is not just to go through that strategic partnership, and some of the plans that we're responsible for, but we're happy to kind of take any questions on those as well. So the reason I have a couple of colleagues joining us today, one, Agia, has worked closely with the young carers themselves. So she really understands a lot of the issues that have been impacting them and has been leading the work. So she can often bring some of the context that young carers face to life for us. So that can be useful when we have, if you have any questions. And also education plays such an important role for all of our children, young people, but particularly young carers. So Helen has joined us to bring that education perspective. But the group has much wider representation, but we thought probably 3 would be sufficient for today's purposes. Just a little bit about the way that services work for young carers first, so some of the context. So we have a long-standing commissioning relationship with the YMCA Swansea, so we commission them to run a young carers service for us, as do Western Bay as well, commission elements of work for young carers from them as well. So that service runs open access youth clubs, group work. We support individuals and their families. There's a whole variety of different support aspects that go in directly to schools. They run a lot of training for professionals and for young people and families. and also have been developing the Young Carers ID card, which is now part of a national Young Carers ID card scheme. So that's been in place for a number of years, but one of the elements that we wanted to focus on today has been the element around the Young Carers Forum. So that's a group of young carers that are voted in by other young carers and who then help shape the nature of services and provision and the wider decisions that impact them for all young carers. So that's a piece of work that AGEA has been supporting. And as part of our role then to support young carers, we've been working closely with them to develop a plan. So we didn't want to just have a kind of an officer-led plan. You know that we're very committed to co-producing our work with the people that we work with, to listening to their voices, to allowing them to participate as much as they can. And this particular group of young people have been amazing at participating and have really wanted to lead on this from the front, and have had lots of views to share. They would love to be here themselves, and they are indeed happy to come to events if people would like them to. But obviously, there are a lot of different elements that we need this, where the plan needs to go. So we felt that in discussion with them that they wouldn't be able to attend all of them, and instead maybe they could produce a video that we would be able to share on their behalf, and that would mean that we could really have an impact across a wide range of different settings and meetings and groups. So what we thought would be useful today was to share the plan that the young people themselves have developed. It isn't just a plan, it also gives us targets and how they would like us to hold us as officers and as an authority to account. And so we thought we could share that, and then if you have any questions, you can then ask away after the video, if that's okay with everyone. Okay, now comes the next tricky part, because I've moved my screen around. So I do apologise, but bear with me for a minute and hopefully we will get there. Okay. Okay, so I think everyone can see the start of the video, but sound could be the issue. So we'll see how we go now. Everyone here?
Hi all, we are YMC Swansea Young Carers Forum. I'm Josh.
I'm Divya. I'm Mia. I'm Max.
Hi, Meg.
I'm Faith. Hi, I'm Alicia. I am Taylor.
The Young Carers Forum is a small elected group of young carers who represent the views of YMCA Swansea Young Carers Service and work collaboratively with other organisations locally, nationally and globally to raise awareness on challenges faced by young carers. This group meets once a month to ensure young carers are part of shaping their own service. All members of the forum participated in an interview expressing our ideas on how to improve life and well-being for young carers around Swansea.
For anyone who doesn't know what the definition of a young carer is, our definition of a young carer is someone under the age of 18 who provides or intends to provide care for someone due to a disability, long-term illness, mental health condition, and or dependency on substance use. We would like to present our plan to you so that you can help people in Swansea support us over the next 3 years. Our plan has 3 main points.
Number 1, make sure that more people know about young carers and understand the challenges that affect us.
To make sure that this happens, we think that there needs to be more training and information getting to people. We think this can be done online with digital training or face-to-face. We think the YMCA Young Carers Service are the best people to do this with help from the Young Carers Forum. These sessions should be for all children and young people in schools, assemblies and classes, etc. Parents and carers via schools and small groups. Any professionals that work with young people, especially teachers, social workers and support workers. School governors. If you scan the code, you will access to more information.
Number 2. To make sure that we know who all the young carers in Swansea are. All organisations that work with young people should have a trained young carers champion, a staff member who can help identify young carers, raise awareness on young carers and support them within organisation or school. There definitely has to be a young carers champion for every school and for teams like social workers and support workers. Schools should keep a record of all young carers known to them. There should be a list showing who all the young carers champions are in Swansea. We also want them all to sign up to the National Young Carers ID card scheme and implement in the organisation or school following YMCA Swansea pledge.
Number 3. To make sure that all young carers can get the right support when they need it.
To make sure that young carers get the right support at the right time, YMCA Swansea workers will need to do a young carers assessment with them to find out what support they need. We think that the YMCA Swansea Young Carers Service are the best organisation to provide young carers assessment.
We know that if there are any worries about the young carers' safety, then this will be done by Child and Family Services.
If they already have someone helping the family, then that worker should contact the YMCA Swansea and work together to do the assessment. We also think there should be a clear map of the services and pathways. We all think professionals who might do an assessment should have done the Understanding Young Carers training provided by the YMCA Swansea. All assessments should be kept on one safe system, also known as WCISS.
What we want to know, outcomes and measures. We would like this to be a 3-year plan. Every year our Young Carers Forum would like a report so we can all know how well the plan is going. Then we can give you and the council feedback so we can all think about anything that we need to change to help make it a better experience for young carers. We know that there is lots of work to do, but we think there should be some targets. To make this simple, we think that for the young carers champions and training, there should be a target of 30% of organisations and schools for uptake in year 1, then 60% by the end of year 2 and 90% by the end of year 3.
Number of organisations that have an identified young carer champion, the number of those young carers champions that have completed their understanding of young carers training, total number of individuals completing and attending training and awareness raising sessions, number of young carers identified by schools and breakdowns by age and gender, number of young carers with ID cards and breakdowns by age and gender.
Thank you. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to contact us on our website or on the following email.
Thank you very much. I think that was really quite interesting, and obviously there's a lot of work going into that and a lot of preparation. And obviously we've heard about the young carers and the YM before, and obviously it seems to be settling down and working really well. I don't know if you want to make any comment on that at this stage or whether we take it from there, and I'll ask people if they want questions, because I want to make, if they got any questions, because obviously it was interesting. There's a lot in there, and I noticed there's about 4 or 5 sections, I think. And I'm still interested, and I'm always interested in how you ensure that you find as many of the young carers as are out there. Whether you're able, what percentage you think you're getting to.
So we've been delivering PSE sessions in schools and raising awareness through our Understanding Young Carers professional training. And our statistic matches the national statistic, which says that there are around 3 young carers in every single classroom in the UK. So the number of young carers is huge, as you can imagine. Young carers are identified through the PSE sessions. So they listen to the presentation, they engage in activities, and at the end of the session, they have a chance to complete a questionnaire and tell the staff members that they would like to identify as a young carer. Then we gather all the statistics that we collect from every classroom and we share that information with the schools. Some young carers choose not to be shared, for us not to share this information with the schools for different reasons, and they have the right to privacy as well. They also understand that they can access the support in school because we help schools set up lunchtime clubs, and they can access only that support if they wish to do that, or they can access support within YMCA, or sometimes they're happy and living happy and healthy lives alongside their caring roles, and they don't need additional support. But I would say that we are receiving more and more referrals for young carers, especially because we've been so successful in delivering training and PSE sessions in schools. We kind of set our targets to raise awareness and spread the word about young carers, but we maybe didn't anticipate to get so many referrals. But I think that just shows that there are so many young carers that are being identified and that they need the support.
Yes, I must be able to put that on as well, mustn't I? Certainly. Obviously, the young carers within the YM, the group itself, is working quite hard at this and working quite actively. Is there anything they particularly look in that we can help them with at this point in time, you think? Or are they reasonably self-sufficient with your support?
The young carers themselves?
The group in the YM?
Yeah. So we offer lots of different support for young carers, where it comes from training to trips and activities to Wednesday Club. For example, our Wednesday Club is starting tonight because we had a summer break. So I'm going back to club after this. So there's a lot of activities happening as one-to-one support, trips and activities, buddy sessions, anything that a young carer would need. I think, as I said, because we're receiving so many referrals, the service is growing, and because there's so many new young carers coming in, what we wouldn't want to see is the quality of the service drop, just because we want still everyone to be able to access and benefit from everything that we offer. So Gavin has come to the Young Carers Forum meetings as the young people that you just saw in the video. They meet on a monthly basis. They take their role really seriously. They consult with all the other young carers. They don't make decisions just within their group. So for example, tonight we are having a consultation session on how they want to collect feedback from all the young carers to see whether they're enjoying the service or what can be improved. So I think from a service point of view, to benefit young carers with additional support would be just more workers to provide more support for young carers, because we're getting all these referrals in. We need to be able to support them. It's great that we have risen the awareness and we are achieving that, but we also need to make sure there is the support, as the third point in the presentation was actually providing support at the right time for young carers.
Okay, fine. Have any of the members who are here got any questions that they want to ask at this stage? I notice you got your hand up, Mark.
Yes, thanks, Paxton. In my day, YMCA was Young Men's Christian Association. This must be a rhetorical question, but this facility is open to young people of all faiths, I presume.
Yeah, so YMCA is almost 180 years old, and it started as Young Men's Christian Association, but we have moved away from that. We support any age, gender, or any person that needs support within our communities. We run successful programs for LGBT young people, for all the generations. We do lots of different things, so it's not just YMCA what it was before.
Thank you for the clarity. Cheers. Thank you.
Sorry, Victoria, yes, I noticed you got your hand up. Would you like to ask a question, please?
Yes, thank you. I loved the video. Is the video going to be shared with sort of professionals and third parties, or is it going to the schools?
So there's a plan to roll this out. So at the moment, we've taken their plan to a number of different strategic partnerships to gain, I guess, agreement from the strategic leads from all different sectors, and it's been really positively met so far. But I was going to say, you know, in terms of what the young people have fed back to us, one of their main things is about making sure that all schools are on board. So they've had a lot of discussion around between themselves about maybe some of the differences between schools. And although we're working in a lot of them, although we might not ever have enough workers in just one service, collectively, if everybody could respond. So that's why a big part of the plan was around having a champion in every school, making sure that the schools are on board with this. So we do have a plan, and I don't know, maybe if that's a good segue to bring Helen in there from education to share currently where some of that is, because all of us have a big challenge in the next 3 years to hit the targets that they've set for us. And obviously we will be responsible to going back and sitting in front of them and explaining whether we have or haven't been able to achieve that, which I think is a really healthy place that we should be in. We should be accountable.
And the children seem very, very brave. The only criticism I have, which is really, really small, is it's quite grown-up language they're using. You know, when we're talking about children or perhaps a little bit smaller, it felt like we're talking now, and those guys are probably used to talking in this way because they're dealing with so many people. But I think if it was going to the school, like talking about Wednesday Club and making it more an awful thing to say, fun. But when you're talking about targets and reports, and maybe it's not necessarily something that would appeal in the first instance. But other than that, it was really, really lovely. And the children were very, very brave. They should be congratulated.
Okay, thank you, Victoria. Joy? Oh, sorry, Sandra.
Question is, how long has it been the YMCA care has been set up, please?
So I have worked with young carers for the past 9 years, but based in YMCA Swansea for almost 7 years now.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to know where you are in this journey.
And this, you know, the service, when we moved to YMCA Swansea, because we were part of Carers Trust Swansea Bay before, and it went into liquidation, then YMCA kind of got the contract and we moved to YMCA, and we started from nothing.
Yeah.
You know, we had nothing, and the service is what it is today because of the young carers, because they have shaped it. They've told us exactly what they need, and that's why it works. Because us as workers putting something on wouldn't make a difference, because we are not young carers. We don't know their needs. We can only do what they tell us with their own voices and then implement the best service we can for them. And I think that's why it's been so successful.
I think you're going to be flooded in a good way, because I think they are a hidden group that have been overlooked for far too long. So I'm really positive about where you're going with this.
I don't know if you wanted to bring Helen in as well, that she could just share a little bit of that.
Yeah, Helen, if you'd like to come in now. I was just waiting to make sure the sound had finished before I called you in then. But if you'd like to come in.
Yes, thank you so much, Councillor. So the job of the education rep in the education department is obviously to raise awareness on behalf of the Young Carer Forum. So young carers have been discussed in education at the senior leadership team. We've got head teacher representatives sitting on the Young Carer Forum, which is pivotal really, and it has a pivotal role in directing the strategy. Information has been sent out to all schools around young carers, around training, via the education newsletter. Team managers within education have been asked for young carer champion representatives. That's going to be updated shortly because there have been a few changes. But what we feel is the Education Welfare Service have a pivotal role to play within education, and they have their own particular champion in their own individual team. and hold team training for the service has been arranged. Young carers, which I'm most excited about, have been invited to the next cross-phase head teachers meeting, which is on the 12th of October, and that will be a really big opportunity to raise further awareness, encourage schools to sign up for the training sessions for both staff and pupils within PSE sessions, as well as really looking at the ID cards and how we can set that up. So we want to be able to track data. I did notice there was a part of the presentation was about having young carers on a list or being able to track them. We are committed to finding a way. I've spoken to our data and systems manager, who echoes concerns we have around the worries that data may be held based on what the children tell schools and without parental consent. And we are concerned that that might be a breach of GDPR. But as I said, we are looking and committed to finding a way and able to do this. One way is obviously if Welsh Government introduced this for PLASC, which is the annual census for schools, and that will enable it via legislation, which should resolve all our issues as long as we do things in the way that they prescribe. So our best hope is that there will probably be some type of formal data collection exercise as they've done in the past. So there is a software development forum next month, which is a Welsh Government meeting and the software suppliers and LAs, where changes of things like PLASC get to be agreed following Welsh Government policy. So there's been a desire that we ask for an update on young carers and where we are in that situation, because obviously we all understand it would be so beneficial if we were able to record this in a legislative and a statutory way. Just lastly then, I've invited our data manager to our next Young Carer Forum to discuss this in more detail so we can have a fuller conversation about it in that forum. Was there anything else you wanted to know about where we were going on this?
Thank you for that, Helen. What I will do now, I'll throw it open again to the meeting for anybody who's got any questions to come back to, if I may. Anybody? I'm not seeing any hands up, so you obviously explained it very well. And,
Thank you.
But yes, I suppose over the years we've seen the development, and Gavin will know that full well. We've seen the development of what's going on in terms of young carers and how you started to identify them and then bring them together in the group within within the YM to lead that work. And obviously, as you've gone out more and more into schools now, so now you are beginning, sorry, beginning is wrong, but now you are finding those carers that you want to find at this stage and get them involved and get as much help to them as you can. It's, as I say, we've seen it grow over the years, and we're really grateful for the work that's been done in that sense as a scrutiny panel. I'm sure the department is as well. I don't think they're going to argue on that score. I'm getting nod heads, so you're all right. So, but just be a bit careful. At this stage, unless there's any other questions, anybody got any further questions? If not, in that case, I'll say thank you to Helen, to Asia. That close?
Yeah,
sorry.
close.
And Gavin. So thank you very much for coming along. Thank you for bringing that along, and take our best wishes back to your young carers group in the YM, if you would. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Now, you're very welcome to stay, or I'm sure as your first meeting back after the summer, you're going to be very busy. So if you'd like to be able to go away and do that, then fine. Thank you. And that moves us on, I think, to item 7. Thank you very much. Adolescent strategy and action plan. Helen, I suspect this is what you're going to present for us, so I'd be surprised if it wasn't you who's going to do it. But I don't know if Louise or Julie want to say anything first of all.
Just to say really that the report that's presented to Scrutiny today is an evolution from, I guess, when we first put this on the work programme, in that a lot has changed in the last couple of years, I think, when we first talked about this. And in recognition of that, I thought it would be really helpful to present through Helen our approach and our thinking around how we can best support and work with adolescents across that continuum of need. So that's what the focus is, and it fits within our wider strategy of how we work with and support children, young people and their families to remain living together safely within the family home or within the wider family network. So that's the focus of the report today, with some really good, I think, strong actions that highlight our thinking, our achievements to date, but also our ambitions for the future. Thanks, Chair.
It's over to you, Helen, but have you got this presentation that you can share with us, or?
Okay, just checking my mic was working, apologies. No, I wrote a report for this purpose, which I'm hoping that people have had the opportunity to have a look at prior to my presentation today. And if it's okay, I'll just go through the kind of highlights and the key points from that report, and obviously very open to having any
Sorry,
questions.
could you get a bit closer to the mic, please?
Is that better?
That's better.
There we are. Okay. So, so what I was saying is I'll go through the highlights from the report, and obviously be able to take any questions at the end. So to start, I think it's probably important to think about adolescents, think about the kind of age group that we work with, and the young people that I'm referring to within the context of this report. So adolescence, very broadly, is that period of time between childhood and adulthood. For the purposes of this report, I focus particularly on our sort of 16 to 25-year-olds. The reason for that is because that's generally the time where our young people will move towards independence a little bit more, will potentially look at developing their behaviours, maybe doing a little bit of experimentation, and it's sort of the time that we recognise that there's often more support and guidance that might be needed for that age group. So we recognise the importance of young people developing and having opportunities to develop, learn about themselves, learn about their independence and their autonomy. We recognise that that means sometimes that there may be some additional risk taking, potentially some behaviours that we might not encourage around sort of substance misuse, and potentially young people getting involved in antisocial behaviour or offending behaviour. So those would be the areas really that we would want to be focusing on to provide as much support as we possibly can. So we have to balance where we support and we help young people to take sensible risks and be safe, compared to where we need to intervene and provide that support to ensure safety. So what I'd like to do is just talk to you about some of the ways in which we do that, some of the supports that we offer, and then move on to perhaps some of the challenges that we're currently facing, and some of our thoughts around next steps and solutions, hopefully, to those challenges. So within Swansea, within our Child and Family Services, we have a service called the BASE Plus service, which is our 16 plus social work team. That team now includes our young people's advisors as well. So they are workers that previously were sitting outside Child and Family. They used to sit within the Bernardo service. They've come in-house and they support our 18 to 25-year-old care leavers. So that service in and of itself has expanded quite significantly, but it enables us to work very closely with young people between the ages of 16 and 25. So the team is made up of social workers, support workers, and, as I've mentioned, young people's advisors. So there is an awful lot of support available to young people that access that service. And within that, there are statutory responsibilities where we have children who are looked after, children who might be on the child protection register. We have social work support to continue to support them up to 18, and then we ensure that pathway planning and that support is then continued into their young adulthood. So a couple of the services that are offered and kind of relate to some of the issues that we we find when we're working with this age group, and accommodation would be one. So we do have, we work with young people who do experience issues around maybe family breakdown, or some young people who may be looked after where there may be placement breakdowns. Now, obviously, as Julie stated in the opening to this presentation, our hope would be that we can keep young people with their families as far as we possibly can, but we do recognise that there needs to be some additional support in terms of where young people may be living. So we have 2 housing support officers who are based within our Bays Plus service. They work with our 16 and 17-year-olds primarily, who experience issues around homelessness, maybe threats of eviction or placement breakdowns. We also work very closely in partnership with Barnardo's, who have a young homeless service. Within that provision, they have a homeless prevention advisor, home support and mediation service, and a specialist eviction worker. So overall, we've got quite a team around our young people to provide the support that they need at the point at which they need it. We do recognise that in some cases, it is really difficult for us to maintain family, young people living with their families or in placements. So there are those occasions where we do need to look at alternative accommodation. We have very good connections with supported accommodation in Swansea, and we have a supported accommodation pathway where we will identify maybe appropriate accommodation that we feel would meet the needs of the young people we're working with, and provide support and ensure that they're able to settle with a view that that is a move towards independence and that they're able to access the support that they require. So where young people are looked after and those arrangements have been able to be maintained up to their 18th birthday, excuse me, we also have a provision called When I'm Ready, which where a young person may want to remain within that care, with that foster carer, which they're termed up until 18, who then will become When I'm Ready providers. So the carer needs to be willing to be involved in that and agree to continue that support, and the young person needs to want to stay in that provision, and that enables them to not have to move once they turn 18, effectively become an adult, but are able to transition in a way that is easier for them and best suits their needs. So that could be up to 21, or if they're in education, that could go up to 25. So within the report that I prepared, the criteria for that, I won't go through that in detail now if that's okay, but the criteria is in there for reference. We are part of the Home Office National Transfer Scheme in relation to unaccompanied asylum-seeking children. So we have a commitment to support young people who come into our area and to provide accommodation and the relevant support for those young people. So we have, I guess, one of the significant recent developments has been working with an accommodation provider and identifying 4 properties in the Swansea area, specifically to support our unaccompanied asylum-seeking children. So we have a total of 21 places across those properties. It's a regional arrangement, so it's Swansea and Neath Talbot. We're having no trouble filling those places at all, but we also recognise that we're learning in this area. I think it's fair to say we are recognising that those young people do need some additional support. They have some support through the provider, but we have recently appointed a regional unaccompanied asylum seeking young person's advisor, which is a US young person's advisor, to make it a little bit more succinct. So that's a very, very new role. In fact, the individual that's been successful in that appointment has we started in the last week. But our hope is that that will provide some additional support to that particular cohort of young people. Bays Plus are based in the town centre. They're based in the information building. And some of the additional kind of services that are offered to young people include a front of house service that's in partnership between the local authority through our Bays service and Barnardo's, and that enables the opportunity for any young people who require support to drop in. And within that service, we offer things such as a sexual help clinic, Bernardo's, I'm talking rubbish now, sorry, Barod even, who Choice to Service, which is the substance misuse service for young people, 11 to 25, are also based within that building. And our NEET team, so working with young people who are out of education, employment and training, are also based there. So having an opportunity for young people to be able to drop in and discuss any of the concerns that they may have enables us and having everybody under one roof enables us to be able to access, hopefully, the right support at the right time. So outside of Bays, we have some more sort of specialist services, if I can put it like that. So we recognise, and I spoke about at the beginning, some of our young people, there may be some additional risks and concerns that we might be worried about. So concerns in terms of substance misuse is supported through Barod, but we may have some concerns as well around children, around our young people getting involved or at risk of exploitation, maybe going missing, some of those sort of more significant worries that we may have as a service. So we have a designated team, our CMET team, so our contextual missing, exploited and trafficked team, who are leading our work in that area, a very specialist team. We have CMET panels that run regularly. We have around about 23 agencies that connect together to support where we have concerns around exploitation, and where we have children that are regularly going missing, you know, that we might want to understand the reasons for that, and if we have any additional concerns. So that has been developed over quite a lengthy period of time now, and it's a very established service within Child and Family. In terms of working with young people where there may be some work, we may have some concerns in respect of their ability to make safe choices. So some, and it's a very small number, thankfully, of young people who may lack capacity to make safe decisions for themselves. We're guided through the Mental Capacity Act to undertake capacity assessments of those young people to understand what they are able to achieve and where there may be some limitations or restrictions, and where we may need to put some restrictions in to maintain safety. And so in terms of deprivation of liberty, very small numbers, thankfully, but we have to be very aware as a service that sometimes we do need to take those steps and work with the courts to have those deprivations put in place. In every case, it is the lowest level of deprivation, and we will review those regularly and work with those young people and support networks around them to keep that to be the shortest length of time that is reasonable as well. Some of the other concerns that I mentioned at the beginning would be around maybe criminal exploitation, young people getting involved in offending behaviour. And serious youth violence is certainly something that is very much on our radar, and that you know we are very mindful of in Swansea. So there's a serious violence duty that came in January of this year. We are required as a local authority to contribute towards a strategic needs assessment in respect of that, which we're currently working on. So that would look at what violence looks like within our local area, and what we need to do about it and what that action plan needs to look like. At the moment, the aim is for that piece of work to be completed by the end of this year, so that we can have a very clear picture in relation to that. But certainly from my service area, the Youth Justice Service comes under my remit. So what I can say is we do recognise that youth violence is an issue. We do recognise that when we look at data, violence against others is certainly an offence type that we recognise to be quite high within that cohort of young people. It is important to say and to be really clear that, again, we are talking about small numbers of young people, but it is enough for us to be really mindful and recognise that we need to be working very closely with our colleagues in CMET and colleagues in the third sector, so the Media Academy and St Giles's Trust, work very closely with the Youth Justice Service to ensure that we're providing the right support for our young people when they need it. I guess the other side of it from a youth justice perspective is around antisocial behaviour. So the service has recently received some money through the Ministry of Justice around a project called Turnaround, which is a prevention project that is currently sitting within the Youth Justice Service. And the monies are specifically, or part of the monies, I should say, specifically around antisocial behaviour and working with young people who are identified to be involved in antisocial behaviour, or areas of Swansea where antisocial behaviour is considered to be an issue. We're also working in partnership with our police colleagues who also have had additional funding in relation to this, to ensure that we're targeting the right areas and we're supporting the right young people in the right way. So this has enabled us not only to extend our prevention offer within youth justice, but to really think about some of the diversionary activities that we can offer and the support that we can put in place within that service. The Youth Justice Service is a multi-agency service, so I just wanted to highlight some of the additional supports that some of our adolescent age group can access if they're open. So we have a speech and language service within Youth Justice. It's an absolutely fantastic service. It's a regional service, working specifically with young people who are involved in offending behaviour or are at risk of offending behaviour. It enables us to think about the ways in which we're working, so to really understand where those needs are and the ways in which the service is able to work with them. Through the funding that we've had through the Turnaround project, we're utilising some of that funding for our speech and language provision to ensure that any of those young people can also access those assessments, because we feel that it's really important that we understand our young people as best we can. We also have a dedicated CAMS practitioner as part of the service, which enables us to ensure that if there are concerns in respect of mental health, that we have that on hand, and we can make those referrals in a timely way. And we're also very lucky to have a worker within the team who is an emotional support worker, works hand in hand with our CAMS worker, but enables that sort of additional support to our young people. And just to highlight really that our Barrod service are also connected to youth justice. So again, across the whole spectrum really of working with our adolescent group, we have a number of avenues where we can access some of that additional support. Participation is really key. I mean, we've had a fantastic presentation just before I started from our young carers. It's no different in terms of our adolescent age group, that we really want to hear our young people's voices. So just wanted to highlight some of the forums within which our young people can provide feedback. So CMET have a youth panel, a very active youth panel, who are very keen to promote understanding around exploitation and risks to young people, and really helping to educate and express the importance of education in that area. The Youth Justice Service have also created a very recent development is the creation of a youth forum. The team have recently gone through a system review, couldn't think of the words then, forgive me, a system review where our young people were very, very actively involved in that process, provided some fantastic feedback, and have become really keen to be part and parcel of how we develop the service. So we're working very closely with them in respect of that. And we are also working with our young people who access supported accommodation to ensure that we have the right feedback and we're able to work with providers to ensure that their voices are heard and that they are able to access the right support at the right time in environments which is their home environment while they're staying there. Within the report, there is some feedback. I won't go through that directly here, but there is some feedback from young people, which I hope will sort of bring to life some of the experience that they're having. So just to sort of end, I just want to raise some of the challenges that we're experiencing and some of the next steps really, and thinking that we have to address those challenges. So it talks a little bit about accommodation, so I just need to sort of revisit that. So we are recognising that we have a rise in the number of sort of 16 and 17-year-olds who are becoming homeless, specifically through family breakdown. What we're recognising is that is putting additional pressures in terms of our accommodation pathway and the limited numbers of spaces that we have available to us. We've done a lot of reflection in respect to this and continue to do so, but thinking about how we can better support families in circumstances such as this, where it's safe to do so, to enable young people to remain at home, where we know they are in the main better supported. So we're looking at the focus on the work, getting work in, getting services in rather as early as we possibly can to provide the support that's needed, and also rolling out training around family finding. So the idea being that we would work with our young people to help them consider not just their immediate family, but the wider networks around them, what that could look like in terms of additional support, and how we could then work with families and the wider network together to maybe relieve some of the pressure points. So this is work that we're rolling forward. We're looking at that training, specifically going into the Bays team, so that we can support the staff there to feel more confident to have those conversations. In relation to our work with unaccompanied asylum-seeking children, as I stated, it's an area that we are learning. We are developing all of the time. Can't say we've got all of the knowledge, but we certainly want to have all of the knowledge. So we are creating networks with partner authorities. We're working with Newport very closely at the moment, because they are a little bit further ahead in that journey than we are. And we're looking to have a national forum across local authorities for shared learning, so that we can think a little bit about how we can continue to develop that offer in Swansea. We do currently have regional strategic and operational groups where we're discussing some of the issues and kind of raising some of the themes. So employment, training and education for this age group is crucial. Our view and our hope would be that we would understand what matters to our young people and would be able to support them in the right ways moving forward. We have had some challenges in respect of this. One of those challenges would be in respect to the basic income pilot, so where we've got young people, care experienced young people who are receiving monies from the government, the idea being that this would support them in terms of their independence and help them set themselves up and have a bright future, of which we would absolutely support. The issue that we're finding, though, is that sometimes when young people are being given that money, their motivation to engage in employment and training it can lack. So we are looking at ways where we're working very closely with our NIC team and bringing our agencies, our services together to work around young people, to really focus on what those opportunities could look like and really help them to think about adulthood and what that would mean for them moving forward, and how they would continue once they're no longer having access to that money, how they would continue into the future. And in respect of our young people, that small number of young people where we might need to be providing additional support around deprivations of liberty and mental capacity. Again, we recognise that this is an area within Swansea where we definitely need to build confidence amongst the workforce in this area. We have particular teams, Bays being one and our child disability team being the other, where they have a little bit more experience in this area. But we recognise that this is something that we need to look at service-wide. So we have developed, along with our colleagues in adult services, an MCA DOLS team. It's a very small team, it's a team of 3, but the idea being that they will provide mentoring and leadership really in this area to upskill, build confidence and to provide that support. So I think I've covered everything. I'm very, very open to have any questions and to clarify anything that I've raised.
That was very comprehensive. Thank you very much. obviously members have been listening. I don't know if anybody's got any questions they'd like to be asking Helen at this stage. Sandra, the floor is yours.
Sorry. The title of the report, of course, is Working with Adolescents. It's comprehensive, obviously. I mean, you know, you brought together such a massive variety of individuals, but also of teams. One area that to me is, when I say missing from the text, is the area of advocacy. And as you know, every looked after child or child in, you know, in child protection has that offer of the role of an advocate in their lives. And I just wondered whether that should in some way appear in here, or whether you would see that as more to do with the child's choice, if that makes sense.
Thank you. I will get used to this microphone one day. Yes, so absolutely, and that's a really it's a really valid observation. So just to provide a bit of assurance, really, our young people are given that offer, and certainly some will take that up and others will not. It is definitely part and parcel of the work that we do. I guess what I focused on in this report is in terms of our service areas and what we've looked at, but just to provide some reassurance that our young people are provided with that offer, and we encourage them to take that up and to have that support, to have their voices heard. I guess I didn't necessarily focus on that because I was looking at participation in terms of how our young people might be responding to the services that we are providing, but I absolutely take that on board. Thank you. Okay.
I'm going back a little bit, or trying to get back a little bit in my head, and I remember the days when we were seriously looking at bays on page 5 and whether we were going to bring it back into child and family services or leave it outside, and that was a decision that took a couple of years before it was actually finalised. Now, if I remember, one of the acronyms was an IRO. I can't remember what the R was for, the independent officer.
Independent reviewing officers.
Is that position still within social services? And you're talking about advocacy there, and that was basically their role, as I understand it anyway, in that sense. So are you happy you've got enough staff in those areas at this point in time? Or are you struggling? I know there have been struggles with recruitments and what have you, and where you are in that respect.
In terms of if you think about the adolescent services in the broadest sense, I think it's probably fair to say that we started to see some challenges there in recruiting social workers where we might not have previously. It's not as great as in the other areas yet, but that may grow. We are being very, I think we've recognised the increase in demand for support, particularly for 16, 17-year-olds. So we've decided to recruit additional alternatively qualified staff to help with that demand. I think within the Youth Justice Service, that's quite, we think we've got enough capacity there in terms of meeting the demand. The independent reviewing officers, and they're the ones that primarily promote and support advocacy and check and balance that those advocacy offers being made to children and young people. The staffing levels there are quite healthy, and they haven't had any issues of late, and if not been able to recruit to those posts. I think where we're lacking in resource is probably when we're thinking about access to enough support around emotional health and well-being that maybe should be coming from outside the local authority, i.e. health, and also access to suitable accommodation, which isn't always there, or there's not enough of it. And we know that housing is reviewing its housing strategy at the moment, and they've recognised that in the conversations I've had with them as an area that is if there is insufficient demand capacity to meet that demand at the moment. Those are the key areas that I think we're struggling. We'd identify as needing more resource or a greater number of.
The impression I got, whether it's right or wrong, in terms when I was reading through this, that there was an indication that there are more youngsters beginning to present to you with problems. I don't know if that's right, and and you talk more than we used to in those days about youth justice system in here in your report and that sort of area. So are you seeing any problems in that sense of adolescents being more disenchanted, I suppose we would?
It's interesting. I think in terms of so I'll come on to the youth justice in a moment, but I think in terms of accommodation, I think we're definitely seeing more young people presenting with those sorts of needs, needing additional support, family breakdown. It's difficult to know specifically what the causes of those things are. There's probably multiple causes, isn't it? You know, so we're definitely seeing a slight rise in terms of that. In relation to youth justice, we're not seeing significantly more numbers of young people coming through committing offences at the kind of statutory end. But I think we are having different conversations perhaps. So we're having further conversations in respect of exploitation and maybe being a little bit more mindful of how that could result in criminal exploitation and wanting to support young people at the earliest possible opportunity. So our prevention offer within youth justice is probably growing quite significantly in respect of that. So it is really important that we have a balance when we're thinking about that. So we're talking about it more for certain, which is important because it needs to be on the agenda. We need to be discussing it. Does that mean that we're seeing significantly more numbers coming through? I don't think that's true, other than at the prevention level where we're seeking to be preventing them getting involved in offending in the first instance. I hope that answers.
Yes, I was interested in the sense that in paragraph 2.9 there, where you're starting to talk about dolls and this deprivation of liberty, because basically you feel that the adolescent, I suppose, is not safe to look after himself.
It's to do with the capacity, it's to do with their capacity to make decisions that then keep them safe. So, you know, again, it's small numbers. We see greater numbers of that small group within our child disability team. So where there may be physical disabilities that might sort of prevent them being able to make choices or you know, manage their lives in a safe way, and there's a necessary need for some additional support for those young people. We have very small numbers then within the BAYS team, within our adolescent group, where we have concerns about them being able to make safe decisions, and we need to put safeguards around them to support with that.
Okay. Just a matter of interest, as far as BAYS is concerned, are you reasonably satisfied with the way they deliver on their contracts?
Well, BASE is an in-house provision, so in terms of the quality of the practice, then, yes. In terms of Bernard, do you mean Bernardo's? Because we commission, Bernardo's is the main provider that we commission, and we haven't had any issues in relation to the quality of provision. We're always reviewing regularly with them and trying to be thinking ahead and being proactive about what we may need to change and modify, because people's behaviours have changed significantly, we think, in response to COVID. So it's made us forced us to rethink how we offer services and where we offer services from. So we're having probably quite regular conversations with Bernardo's about that.
Okay. All right. There was we had a lot of discussions about this a few years ago, to be honest, in that area. I don't think I got any more questions myself as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if any of our colleagues who joined us online have got any questions. I'm not getting any indication of such. So on that basis, I will say to Helen, that was very comprehensive. Thank you very much, much appreciated. And we'll probably come back to this again now in a year or so's time, I guess, just to see where we are. And thank you very much. And as I said to Gavin, we're not going to be much longer anyway now, I don't think, but you're welcome. But thank you very much. Well, that takes me on to item 8 on the agenda, which is the work programme. You've seen it. Basically, next meeting we're going to have an update from the Regional Safeguarding Board, Quality Unit as well, the annual report, and the Commission reviews progress update, as I understand it, Julie. That's where we are. Okay, Unless anybody's got any other questions, any comments, at this stage, I will say thank you very much to Helen in particular, obviously to Julie for being here, the members, and the meeting to a close. Thank you.